Welcome to Entrepreneur Conundrum with Virginia Purnell, where growing entrepreneurs share how they get visible online.
Hey everyone. Today I'm joined by Bill Crawley, founder and CEO of Advark AI. Bill has been an entrepreneur since he was 9 years old and has built, scaled, and sold multiple companies across industries, earning 4 successful exits along the way. Instead of slowing down as he approached 60, Bill took on one of the most frustrating challenge business owners face today: digital marketing. Advark AI was built to cut through the confusion, giving non-technical business owners a clear, simple way to manage marketing, track performance, and make smart decisions in under 30 minutes a week. Welcome, Bill.
Well, thanks, Virginia. So happy to be here. And man, you've covered that better than I ever have. So well done.
Thanks.
Yes.
So you sound like you have had quite the journey getting here. Would you like to share some of it with us?
Sure. I'll try to make it as painless as possible. But basically, I've just always been entrepreneurial. You had mentioned 9 years old. That's people are like, really? What is you out cutting lawns or something? But I grew up in a rough neighborhood, and my buddies and I would ride our bikes everywhere. And one day, my buddy's bike was stolen, and he was devastated because that was your way of getting around everywhere. And as we were walking across the canal bridge, we saw his bike sticking up from the canal because the hoods in the neighborhood would grab your bike and pedal where they needed to go and then just ditch the bike and never care about it. So we fished it out of there, and then we found out there was multiple bikes in there from everywhere. That people just threw stolen bikes in there for some reason so they wouldn't get caught with them. And we started putting them back together and cleaning them up and joining parts and Frankenstein and a bunch of things. We started a little bike shop in my garage, and it was, my mom chuckled at it as she went out to work, and she was a single mom, so she couldn't be bothered with the whole logistics of it. But she looked at me and said, "Do not make a mess in my garage," and drove away. About 2 weeks later, I came in with a wad of cash, and I said, "What should I do with this?" She's like, "Where did you get that?" And it just that kind of got the bug in me that, yeah, this is fun. I like building things. I like putting them together, and it just sort of led from one business to another. I just thought it was more fun to think about how I could make a living than filling out a job application somewhere. And for better or worse, it's led me here. So there you go.
So today, who do you serve?
I serve small businesses that are really trying to get a hold of how to grow their companies, how to get seen, how to be consistent. I built this platform, like you'd mentioned, to scratch my own itch because it was constantly frustrating me. In the early days of business, you put in an ad in the trade magazine, you went to a couple of trade shows, and the yellow pages, if I don't want to date myself that badly, but that's the way you marketed. And you had somebody call on you and say, "We've got an ad opportunity." You'd go, "Okay, we can afford it. We'll do it." Now it is so intensely complicated in ways and yet so easy in other ways. And people get intimidated by what the rules are and how do I know if I'm making money? Am I just burning it? And why is Steve down the street seem like he's doing so well? And I just feel like I'm lost. And so as we would hire in-house marketing people or in cases use agencies, the same frustrations came up all the time. I would say, "Well, are we making money?" "Well, that's a good question. It's in learning phase right now." Or, "Yeah, we will if we increase our budget and keep spending." And then you and I talked about it pre-show a little bit about the persistence it takes to keep spending ahead of revenue. And it's like, oh boy. And so I just really wanted to solve this problem. And I am a guy who really called everyone into my office when I couldn't send an email correctly or download a PDF. So I was not the guy to start a tech company, so to speak, but I was so impassioned about the problem and the people that I interviewed having the same thing. And my wife really triggered it one day a couple of years ago when I said, "How's business, honey?" She has a furniture store and she is an interior designer. And she said, "Honey, it's not business. It's who can spend the most on Google." And I'm like, okay. And I just slowly walked away, didn't say much, and thought about it. Thought she's really right. It's who was spending the most money at the time, and so I just put together a platform that really helps business owners, entrepreneurs, young startups to navigate this whole system. It just doesn't plop you into a platform and say, here you go, knock yourself out. It really walks you through the entire process. And AI is checking you the whole way, telling you good move, bad move, that worked, this didn't, and we have a problem. And so it's like having the world's smartest marketing coach next to you all the time.
In the intro, we had talked about doing everything within under 30 minutes a week. Can you give us like a quick synopsis on what that would look like?
So here's what it would really do. And I don't want to bore your listeners, but the biggest problem small businesses have is they don't know where to spend their money. First of all, there's so many platforms to choose from. So person using Advark would get in there, fill out some questions about their industry, their revenue, and their current marketing. AI would look at that and say, okay, you run a gym, you're doing $600,000 a year and you're spending $3,000 a month. It goes out and analyzes all the governing bodies of gyms in that industry per se, and all the data that it can pull in from the Small Business Administration and all the other things. And it comes back and says, okay, Bob, your gym should be advertising on these platforms, and here's why. You told us you spend $1,000 a month. Here is statistically how you should allocate that money. And so Bob spends 2 minutes putting in his information, and boom, out comes all this data that tells him, here's where to start. You want to spend this much here, this much here, this much here. And then all he has to do is say, okay, or I want to adjust that, or I'm not quite sure. He hits okay, and it hooks up to those platforms through an API. So Advark actually talks to Google, talks to Meta, and it will go in and say, okay, Bob wants to spend $35 a day on this, on Meta. And then it says, okay, we set up your budget, you're set. Now go, and we're going to teach you how to build an ad. And AI will either build his ad for him or walk him through the process. And you never have to go to the native sites anymore, so to speak, of, oh, I got to go to Google to see how my ads are doing. What's happening on Meta? I jump over here and look in there and then try to bring it all together. This actually puts them all together and then tells you with updates all the time, hey, your budget isn't doing as well on Google. Well, let's reallocate 15% of it to Meta, where this ad's doing really well. You hit OK, and AI comes in and does it for you. So it really is like having a really reliable, dependable assistant who's super smart at marketing.
Thank you. Are you geographically specific, or can you work with anyone anywhere, or is it more just in the States?
The software will basically work with anyone anywhere. There are different nuances throughout markets. So right now we are just focusing on the US and just understanding how things work in the US. As we move to the UK and we speak with marketers there and stuff, they have contextually little things that they do that are different, but in all the countries that we've spoken to. So those will come, but right now we just want to focus on the US and Canada and go from there.
Is it just brick and mortar companies then?
No, it's any kind of company that you could put in that would spend money on advertising.
Okay.
So you can own an online store, you can own an online store that has a brick and mortar presence, any of those. I think there was 17,300 some odd businesses in the database that we set up that you can type into it and it will come back and give you what it does is it says, great, here's what we know about your business. And it drops down and tells you what it knows about your business, but then it also tells you what it knows about your competitors. And from a 30,000 foot view, it'll say, Bob, your gym is spending $5,000 a month in marketing and doing $650,000 in revenue. However, Steve down the street is doing 702,000 and he is actually spending $4,000. How is he doing that? and so you get all these insights that are always available to people. It just takes so much research to find it and to have it at your fingertips all the time. So Advark pulls that information in and keeps it there. It's an agentic system that learns about your business as you use it.
So is your wife's business doing better?
Well, she hasn't hooked up to it yet because we just barely launched last week. And so,
Ooh.
yes. So we are out there eating our own dog food, so to speak, right now, running ads through the platform and growing the platform through using it. And so it's kind of physician heal thyself. If you're making a marketing platform, you darn well better be using it to market your product. So
When our listeners are hearing this, it'll be fun to see how much you've grown.
yes, exactly. It will be.
What are some of your big goals? So you've recently launched the company. What are some of your big goals?
And I don't want to sound too kumbaya-ish about this, but through this whole process of building this and immersing myself into an industry, most people who know me would say you have no business being there. It would be, I just want to help small businesses because I know the frustration that they have. And everyone that I talk to, I give the platform away to for free. And my wife's like, you're the worst businessman I've ever met. You are supposed to make goods and services and sell them. And I go, I know, but he was such a cool guy. Did you? And she goes, I know, I'm just kidding you. But
Referrals and testimonies.
I don't know. It's funny because I've never looked at the financial side of this company. I've just always looked at, okay, is it doing what we want it to do? Are we giving Bob, who is our ideal customer persona, are we giving him the tools he needs that would really let him make better decisions? Would it really make him feel when he pulls up the internet and sees all these big companies doing a phenomenal job on their marketing, and you get that sort of sinking feeling of, can I ever compete with that? That's what we're trying to democratize and make it so you can compete with it. And agencies and so forth, they do a great job. They just have a certain skill set that's very learnable. And so we put all that into the AI, and it really is a coach that walks you through it. So that's the whole thing. So I didn't answer your question very well, Virginia. I apologize. My goal is I want to help and have 1,000 people using the platform by April 1st. And that is, I don't care if I have to walk everyone through the whole process, set them up individually, and then I call them once a week and go, how's it working? That to me is the satisfaction of it. And they're like, well, I haven't paid you yet. Don't worry about that. How's it working? So that's the goal. There's 1,000 people by April 1st. I had done it. I never tied a revenue to it. I just said, gee, wouldn't that be cool if 1,000 people felt good about growing their business and didn't wake up in the night going, I need to do something to do this. I'll get off my soapbox here, but it's funny. For years, I went through the whole thing of, I don't think advertising's even working. It's not doing anything. So I took a small company that I had and I just stopped advertising on it. And after a month, I'm like, so smart. Nothing's happened. Our revenue is doing well. But over the next 2 months, there was such a definitive decline in what was going on, and the action and the energy and the everything, the funnel just wasn't there. And so even though marketing to me is sort of the devil, and I'm just like, oh, it's a necessary evil that I have to do, it works. And it does what it's supposed to do. But if you don't have the consistency and you don't know how to do it, it just feels like an endless battle. And so that's why we made this, is to stop that.
That's fun. So do you have any tips on how small businesses will be able to compete in such a loud market these days?
Yeah, mainly what small businesses need to look at is there is a sweet spot for how much they should be spending. A lot of businesses will come in, and these are conversations, for example, I would have with my wife. I just spent $400 on Google Ads. And okay, what'd you get out of it? I have no clue. Kind of in an irritated voice. I wasn't being dramatic. And so there are sweet spots that if you're not spending enough, you're never going to get picked up by the algorithms to really get your ad flowing and to get the people coming in. But you can overspend too and hit that law of diminishing returns where you're just throwing money in the wind. And so by using the right tools, you can know where that sweet spot is, and you can go a little beyond it or a little behind it and experiment, but you'll find that place. And that comes from doing it consistently and watching the results come in. The big thing is, though, is I probably interviewed 125 to 135 businesses in the last 8 months, and just wanting to know what their pain was, what they were doing. And they're so willy-nilly about it. Oh, I've got a little extra cash this week. I'm just going to throw it into ads. And they might as well throw it on a fire. So it really comes down to sticking it out and doing it every day, every minute. But who has time for that? That was always the problem. It's like, I don't have time to fight a war. I'm right here doing this. And so every business owner has their priorities of what they think is the most important thing they can do for their business. But those priorities aren't always aligned with what will make their business healthy. So that's really the idea behind Advark was, okay, put in what you need, get your budget set, and then check on it once a week. You go through and make adjustments or look at the reports that are being generated for you. You don't have to do any of it. You just click on a button and it says, this isn't working. Pause this ad, move this ad over here, and go from there. And there's a ton of marketing platforms out there, but really, Virginia, I would land on them, and as earnestly as I tried, I'd just click around and go, I have no idea what I'm doing. What happened here? What was the cause and effect? So I would just get frustrated and then go back to an agency or go into our marketer's office and go, all right, keep going, and leave it from there. So this really solved those problems. And once again, I didn't make it for the money. I made it to really solve the problem in my own head. So that's how you can compete these days, is consistency, doing it by the rules, knowing what those, you don't even need to know what the rules are. You just need to follow the steps, and it knows the rules for you.
And you developed a way to help people be able to still do their advertising and marketing and stuff, but without having to spend a whole lot of time on it either. So then that frees up their time to do other things that they're good at.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, I'm old school. I come from the world of, if you're not bleeding, you're really not working hard enough, and it's not going to work out. And that's the worst kind of thing you can grow up thinking. More hours equals more success, because that's not true. More planning and more knowledge equals more success. And that's why I built the tool in the first place as well. Is, okay, I'm never going to be a marketer. I'm always a product guy, or I'm always a chef, or I'm always, this is why I started my business, not for reasons of, oh, I want to run ads on Google. So this kind of takes care of it.
What's the best advice that you have ever received?
Well, it's kind of funny. Best advice I ever received was from my granddad. And I was lamenting one day about a business that I had started and how things were not going well, and how much I was working, and all my friends were out dating girls. And I thought, I was just like, this is terrible. And he just put his arm around me and he said, let me tell you something. It is better to rule in hell than serve in heaven. And I looked at him like, that's impressive. But as my life progressed, his wisdom was so true that even though things could be going terrible or falling apart around you, to run your own deal and to control your own destiny is so much more gratifying than having big, fat, consistent paycheck. Okay, I can't say that out loud because my wife heard that. She goes, no, take the big, fat, consistent paycheck. But you get the idea. Just running your own show is intoxicating by itself. And even though it's not going well or the environment isn't great or you feel overworked and overstressed and all those things, it's far better than doing somebody else's dream.
Being a minion.
Yes, exactly.
What's the best advice you've ever given?
I think that falls back on what we were just talking about is all the effort in the world means nothing without direction. So make sure you've got an idea of what that target is and a roadmap to get there. And don't start digging until you do, because I have dug a lot of dry wells in my day where just work harder, keep digging faster. And if there's no water there, because I didn't do my homework, I could dig till I'm 90 and it won't do you any good. So make sure that you know what your target is. And if you look at it, just project yourself to that target ahead of time and say, now I'm here. What does that look like? And you can answer a lot of questions because a lot of people get there. You have friends who go to law school. Once they become lawyers, they hate it. So it's very difficult to know what that target will look like unless you push yourself forward to see it once you get there. So I didn't articulate that well, but you get the idea.
You did well.
Thanks.
So we've covered a few things, but is there something else that we haven't talked about yet that you would like to talk about?
I don't know that I am the guy who's out talking about things that I'm not prompted to. I'll talk about anything you have in mind. I just want small businesses to survive and do well. I don't care if they use our platform or not, but they are the backbone of all innovation. They are the backbone of all economies. They are the backbone of what makes our country great, what makes the world great is people out trying new ideas, new dreams. And honestly, I see the hard work and the effort that people put in, and they come out with grease all over their hands to talk to me. They come out with flour on their face, all the things that, they are putting in their heart and souls into what they're doing. And to me, I just want to see them have the best chance possible to get there. And that's really what the next phase of my life is about, is how to get them there.
Awesome. Where can we learn more about you and what you're doing?
Well, you can email me, Bill at Advark. And if you do, I'm happy to give you the software and let you try it, help you set up, answer any questions anyone has. And that just helps us make a better product for the next people that try it, and the next one, and the next one. Or you can just go to advarkai.com and check it out, and see what you think, or just reach out to me. I'm happy to answer any questions and tell you 100 ways not to do something and go from there.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Virginia. It's been fun, and I just so much appreciate you and what you're doing.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to subscribe and leave some love through a review. And I'll catch you on the next episode.